Meanwhile, over at the Daily Planet.
That did kind of sound like that, didn't it?
Looks like it is picking up and starting on YouTube, verifying. And we are verified, live and on the air on both YouTube and Twitch. So welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a finally Friday here. We are here mainly to provide you with support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those, feel free to jump over to foolishtechshow.com. We have a couple ways you can join our IRC chat from there, and we'll be more than happy to interrupt whatever we may be talking about at the time to focus on that instead, because otherwise we are going to fill the dead air with random shop talk. Hopefully be entertaining as well in that side of things. But you can feel free to participate as well by joining our chat there. Just keep in mind that all opinions expressed during the show are the opinions of the person whom expressed them and not of the company itself. So with that, how's everybody's Friday going?
Well, good.
Better now that I know for sure it's Friday.
Yeah.
My allergies are bad today, but other than that.
Well, it looks like we got Phoenix in the chat posting a few links for us, but I got one that I want to start off with just to bring it was the one thing that made me laugh all day today. So this is Spinal Tap audio overlaid with a Trump interview recently done.
Oh, come on. You're going to open it up with politics?
Hilarious. It's not politics, it's Spinal Tap.
Oh, okay.
It just happens to have some politicians in the background.
Okay.
But it's like it played out so perfectly, so perfectly. Someone had actually pointed me to a video yesterday about bad lip reading of Inauguration Day, and it had some funny points in it, but I was not as entertained by it. They could have done a lot better, and they could have said things that made more sense. But that could also be said about real life. So I will post that link so you can check that out as well. Inauguration Day Lip Reading. That's not how you spell that. Oh, that was way off. There we go. And there you go. So the Spinal Tap, definitely worth watching. It's only 47 seconds long. The other one is a little bit longer and kind of worth watching, I guess. But either way, the Spinal Tap one's really funny. Other great news that started off today was somebody was able to catch a tech call scammer, and he was able to hold him on the phone for 2 hours while he ran through doing stuff, and it was pretty interesting. He also had some things like he ended up telling them they asked him what his OS was, and he said it's Debian Linux, the Kali distribution. And the guy was like, Debian Linux? And then he holds the phone away from his ear and says, Debian Linux? As somebody in the background. But yeah, then it was pretty funny. Some good stuff on there. He condensed it down and gave you an audio clip of 28 minutes for the highlights from his 2-hour call. So pretty good stuff there. And let's see what Phoenix has got here for us already. 5 arrested for hacking into ATMs and stealing 3.2 million. Is this that Taiwanese or Philippine thing? I caught a glimpse of that. I didn't check out the article for it. Let's see if I can pull this one up and see. Europe and Asia arrested 5 members of international cyber criminal group that specialized in hacking automated teller machines. 3 arrested in Taiwan, 1 in Romania, and 1 in Belarus. So yeah, that was the same one. Interesting stuff. Then he's also got that Easy to Boot's got 1.88 out now, so you can check that out and get your stuff updated. Pointed out that Daily Motion is permanently blocked in Russia after copyright complaints. It's one of those viral video sites that has gone big off Facebook stuff, I believe. It's got some good stuff on it sometimes. Demonoid suffers extended downtime due to hosting issues. What's Demonoid?
It's torrent sharing. You know, it's a torrent tracker for usually questionable, sometimes illegal material.
A semi-private BitTorrent tracker. It's been offline for more than 2 days due to unforeseen hosting problems. Then he had one more that he threw in. Pirate Kodi box seller enters not guilty plea in landmark case. Interesting. I had there was a Missy Elliott video that came out today. Johnny, you might like it. I think it's the same guy that did that song that you like about the Blessed. It sounds like the same like lyrical flow is the guy featured in it. But my thing about this video was that the featured guy, Lamb, apparently one of the lyrics and apparently the chorus of this song is, "I got food in the dining room. I'm better, I'm better, I'm better." I don't understand that. Maybe I'm just getting old. But the other cool thing about this video was they used those exercise balls to dance on. It was kind of weird. But Missy Elliott does have some interesting videography stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then I had some other interesting. Oh, this was the Good Friday thing. Yep, I had that one coming up next. We'll go ahead and talk about that actually. So yeah, Google is apparently going to become its own root certificate authority. So can they do more? Yes, apparently they can.
Well, they could certainly basically prevent anyone without a Google root certificate from from connecting, and
Yeah.
that would be an interesting way. I mean, but that's almost that would violate something, wouldn't it? That's like net neutrality violation. But that's right. Net neutrality doesn't
come against.
Yeah.
But there's a Bleeping Computer article on it as well, which is the one that I saw. Anyway, even better than that is this. We're fans of Nerf guns here. This is a colossal new Nerf blaster that shoots out 100 rounds at 70 miles per hour. That thing is dank. It's powered by 6 D-sized batteries. That's insane. And it's only going to be $100. And you can get the red versus blue color scheming. So you can even reenact red versus blue. Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen that show. Are they still making new episodes?
Are they? I have no idea.
Looks like that thing could take an eye out.
Yeah, right? Let's look up the Wikipedia on it. See if they're still making.
I really have no idea. I vaguely remember seeing 2 seasons on, was it Netflix? But
They're up to season 14, and that came out May of last year.
where are they? Oh, geez, I would have thought that like. See, that blows my mind sometimes about Netflix. Like that, they might have certain things, but they'll be missing the past 12 seasons of what I thought was at least at the time a relatively popular show, and I'm sure
Well,
as it's evolved over 12 seasons, I'm sure it's been better.
You do know that Red versus Blue is just like a web series, right? Like you can watch all of them online for free.
Oh, Michael.
Is that you thought that was like an actual show that came out on TV?
Oh, it's not. They don't run it on like Cartoon Network or something.
No.
Ah,
Talking about being on Netflix or something?
Yeah, this is just a web series, and I'm surprised that they made it to freaking Netflix at all. It is pretty funny. Nick, you're a fan of them as well, weren't you, back in the day?
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Yeah, but you can, Michael, at that Rooster Teeth, you can watch all the seasons.
I'll just do that.
Yeah, it is awesome and it is funny, and I'm not even a fan of Halo, and it's a great show still. So, highly recommend it if you haven't heard of it, or if you've only watched whatever they have on Netflix for it. I highly recommend you check out the full series.
Let me confirm that, dude. I need to confirm that.
So yeah, apparently they are up to season 14, and that came out May of last year. So yeah, they're still pumping them out there. Oh, looks like season 12 or season 11 they upgraded to Halo 4, where so they've done. Oh, that's interesting. I'm looking at the Wikipedia for it. They got which versions of Halo they were running for each one. So season 1 through 3 were Halo original, and there were some Halo 2. Season 4 through 5 were Halo 2. 6 through 10 are Halo 3, and 11 through 14 are Halo 4, although 14 says it's various. Yeah, it's great show if you haven't seen it. Highly recommend it. Glad that I brought that up out of that.
Okay, no, they did, at least when this article was written, have seasons 1 through 5 on Netflix. So it is on Netflix.
That's interesting because Always Sunny in Philadelphia has all 11 seasons on Netflix. They're on the current 12th season right now, but that's not on Netflix yet. But it's weird. Why would they only have that many for a free web?
I'm trying to. Okay, I see what.
Are those streaming versions of it, or is that like DVD copies that you're looking at?
They do have DVD ones of the apparently like the Blood Gulch Chronicles and things like that. I don't know what that is, but see something. This is totally unexpected because it's like hard.
For anyone who doesn't know, though, it's essentially just people dubbing over game footage, and they do it hilariously. It is a great show, so highly recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. And I thought we had mentioned this previously before, but I wanted to just point it out again because it came up in the RSS feed. You can read all the classic computer and game magazines on the Internet Archive. So if you're interested in those, I know we had talked about it when it was either when the game ones or the computer ones came out, but now they got game and computer ones. So good stuff there.
No, they have 13 seasons on Netflix. So I was mistaken. I guess maybe when I checked way back in the day, maybe they only had a couple or something like that. But
That's possible.
apparently things have changed. I honestly, admittedly, haven't looked for it in quite some time. But thanks for reminding me of it.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time either. I haven't seen any of the new seasons at all, so I'll have to just go back and check it out. So I just came across this and kind of upsets me that I might not move to Washington now because of it, because I forgot that that's probably a high area of anti-vaxxers. And this is what happens when you don't vaccinate your children. Apparently there's a mumps outbreak in Washington. Over 278 confirmed and probable cases of mumps across 5 counties since October, and the CDC is getting involved with what's going on here. So it is definitely not a good thing. That's something that is easily vaccinated and prevented, and mumps can kill children, right? Didn't that
I think it can be deadly.
cause a widespread death thing at some point? Let's see.
Check. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, that's unrelated actually. So, yeah, finish your thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see what if mumps were bad.
I mean, typically it is something that you're not going to probably die from. It's dependent on the status of your immune system. But the rate of mumps mortality is 1 in 10,000 cases.
Okay, so it's not incredibly bad, but it is something, like if you just do a Google search on it, they have one of those nice little tells you all about it things on the right, and it says easily preventable by a vaccine. So yeah, there should be no reason that there's an outbreak of it.
Yeah, the thing is, it happens relatively infrequently, but when it does happen, it's it can be bad. There's yeah, and something that's completely preventable.
Yeah, that's the main point out of it. So anyway, what was your thing?
This is not, I wouldn't say, a terribly practical Captcha defeat, but
Glenn added a few more things to that. Mumps can be a long-term medical, or can cause long-term medical issues. Men can be sterilized as a result. Measles is the dirty one. Yeah, dang, it's got more profound effects than just what would happen right then.
yeah, thanks for some clarification there. But yeah, just there's a word. Well, I think there's a World Health Organization article related to it. But anyway, check out that little vid real quick. It's not a whole lot to look at, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, is that the robot arm that
Yeah.
defeats the Captcha?
Yeah.
Is it a robot when it is most definitely a robot doing it?
Yeah, it's just the irony, really, is I suppose where I'm going with that one. It's like I said, it wouldn't be practical for it's not increasing, it's not speeding up breaking captchas. Obviously, you see, it takes it took a little bit of effort from it to make it work. So
yeah. And that was also one of the simplest captures, wasn't it? Where it just was a checkbox. And
yeah, it was not a more elaborate or more advanced or
the new captures that make you pick a
pictures. Yeah.
Pictures. Yeah.
So that wouldn't be possible. So again, this is a very specific test case, but again, this would be great for a poster on a wall,
Yeah. I thought this was interesting. I haven't gotten to read through the full thing, but y'all had talked about making a photo frame, digital photo frame, easily out of whatchamacallit?
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, Raspberry Pi. So this one is not exactly related, but essentially it's the magic mirror. And what I thought interesting about this was, you know, you could easily add a motion sensor with like an Arduino or possibly even the Pi itself, where when that motion sensor went off, i.e. you were standing in front of the mirror, it became a magic mirror and had like helpful info and stuff around it, and then you could see your reflection in it. And then when you walked away from it and it didn't detect any motion, it could become a picture frame.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. Apparently this one is the simplest way to get it set up, and it's coming from the Magpie issue. Apparently it only needs one line of code to set up the Pi part after you get the
What about the
difficult building side of it out of the way.
is the frame? I'm assuming the construction is.
I mean, it looks like a wood frame. Looks pretty solid from the picture I see there. Like I didn't get a chance to look much at it.
The only problems with the mirrors, I would say, is that usually, and many times, you know, like I have a very, very large mirror in my bathroom. You know, to replace that with a display would be a considerable knock to my wallet. And you know,
when exactly are you using the full array of your mirror in your bathroom?
Oh, I'm not, I guess.
Yeah, like are you like walking back and pacing while you're looking at the mirror?
No, but even a door length mirror that's relatively common. Even a door length mirror that's relatively common in a bathroom would probably require a fairly decent TV type investment into display.
Yeah, but you're not looking for a full door length one. I mean, all it does too is turn the screen black so that it's reflective. It's not like I mean, you could just leave a monitor off on the bottom and see your feet and legs and stuff, and then have the magic part only on one display. Or you could just overlay this on top of your existing mirror.
How about projecting it? That would be interesting.
You could project it too, possibly. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Projectors are a little bit more expensive than displays, though. So.
That's generally true for a good quality one. But I got a friend who's really big into that, and he loves his theater room where he projects a huge screen on his wall. If you see anything like that, yeah, shoot it my way.
Yeah. So I thought this was interesting. People have actually asked us about this before, and we have no plans of offering a Mac version of CryptoPrevent, but it looks like there is a RansomWhere, WHERE program for your Mac that monitors for untrusted processes and forces you to allow or terminate them. Clever naming, but not the best naming for getting your product out there. I mean, especially if you walk into a computer place and you're like, hey, I installed this ransomware on my system and I love it. Gonna get some strange looks there. Definitely gonna get some questionable looks here. So
Yeah.
I might have wanted to thought about that name a little bit more. It's very clever, but
this is when marketing goes wrong under with that. Oh boy!
But it is free, so cool. Check it out. Let us know how it ends up working. Macs are just myths. Phoenix. So being a prescription glasses wearer, I thought this was pretty interesting. It shows you the process that you would have to go through to make your own prescription eyeglasses from scratch, and it is not an easy task. So keep that in mind for apocalypse times. You might want to have a couple of spare prescription glasses pre-made and ready, and in sturdy, solid cases, things like that. And not something you commonly think about in your disaster preparedness is having additional prescription glasses or contacts and things like that. So, I probably would almost never wear contacts if it was the apocalypse. So that would be way more tedious to deal with. And Firefox 64 has been out for a little bit, hasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, I started using Firefox 64
Are
now.
you using it right now?
Yeah, let me just doubly confirm, but I believe I am.
It looks like they're going to begin offering the 64-bit as the default download option coming here soon. So,
Yes, it is indeed it appears to be a 64-bit process. Let me see. Just confirm. Is it? Yeah, it looks to be.
so it's working well. Not having any issues, problems.
I haven't had any issues in it for quite some time. In fact, it's just an update. Was there a recent update to it? I just noticed.
It looks like on the reason GHacks did an article on it was because it looks like they're going to start offering that as the default download, where previously you had to select and make sure that you wanted the 64-bit version, but now they're going to start offering it as the default option. And Chrome's not even 64-bit, is it?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't they not that long ago they made it the default, but it's been the default for quite, I believe, for a good little bit now.
I had to just double check and make sure mine was 64-bit. But
I honestly started switching over the minute they started offering those, even if it wasn't the default choice. And I don't recall having much of a problem, except potentially, I might say that early on, some large memory use case issues I think I might have had were probably more than likely being exacerbated by it being 64-bit. And yeah.
were you one of those that used XP64?
I did briefly, but it turned out to be
I knew you were one of those.
hardly supported, so and largely unusable.
Yeah. Nick and I would laugh at people like you, and they're like, "Hey, I want a 64-bit OS on my computer. My processor supports 64-bit," and we're like, okay, what programs are you gonna run on it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Probably just web browsing, email.
Oh, but I mean,
There's
once
no 64-bit web browser emails right now,
they
right?
got, yeah. Well,
How much RAM are you going to install in it?
And it was actually
Four?
it was
2.5 gigs.
2.5 gigs.
Up there. Go ahead,
but
Mike.
it was because of those people those early adopters that laid a lot of testing framework and was the reason probably for the success of 64-bit ultimately when it was rolled out. And there was always issues.
I'm pretty sure it's the RAM.
The original
That's
version.
The only reason I moved to 64-bit was so I could have more than 4 gigs of RAM.
Well, we've talked about it before, but address space randomization, there's security impacts of having a 64-bit operating system, and there's some other factors too. You get access to additional registers. The registers are larger. You could potentially process more data, in the equivalent amount of time in certain cases. It could also be, it's offset by additional RAM consumption, but as long as you're able to deal with that. At any rate, speaking of performance, so this is a follow-up article, and I've covered this before about the new Kaby Lake, the 7000 generation of mainstream i3, i5, and i7 chips that Intel recently released. It looks like the secret to getting stable or relatively at least stable overclocks above 5 gigahertz seems to be the memory speed. It looks like it's very sensitive or to it. There's another option, and that's turning off hyperthreading, but most people would agree the cost difference between like a 7600, which is what equivalent you would turn your processor into, versus a $7,700 is significant enough that it's about $125 or 100 something like that, dollars.
Yeah, I don't see why you would turn off additional processors versus.
Exactly. But their ultimate goal, this article's goal, is to try to achieve the 5 gigahertz, and so they're going to explore
Above
this.
5 gigahertz.
Yeah, above.
I'm running at 5 gigahertz. I've been running.
I don't know, let's not get into this. At any rate, they're going to continue, and they kind of document exactly what they're doing every step of the way. So I kind of like that series.
Michael hates the fact that my computer runs at 5 gigahertz, and I'm like 3,000 series.
I love truth and validity. I can look. There's a whole slew of processors. You change the multiplier to 50 and have 100 base clock, but that doesn't mean it's actually running at a 50 multiplier all the time. So you have to place load on it, and you have to watch the multiplier at that point.
Mine's been loaded.
Okay.
It's still running at 5 gigahertz.
You're having software that just reports the multiplier's value, but at any rate.
No, I'm not. You said the multipliers don't even matter. You just said that. At any rate, it's because of my massive air cooling that I'm able to achieve such fast speeds, and you can only get so much out of your little liquid cooling.
It isn't.
Anyway, I thought this was an interesting article, and not for really the tips that they're giving you there, but more for the interestingness on, is this really how it works? This is 11 tips for talking to strangers and beating social anxiety. I do have a slight problem with both of those, but those 11 tips just seem like weird to me. And maybe that's why I have issues talking to strangers and slight social anxiety, is because I think that those are weird tips to make. So the tips they give you are the 1-step technique, make it playful, go to the bar, slow smile, appear confident, focus outward, small talk, deepen the conversation, follow through, how to talk to groups, and have a list of stories and questions. Like, are people here not affected by social anxiety or have no problems talking to strangers?
I'm horrible with that.
Yeah, so I guess nobody can really discuss the things on that. But doesn't that list seem weird to you? Like having a list of stories and questions, like, do people that are outgoing and social like have those kind of things prepared?
Well, I mean, that's like the #1 tip. I mean, that's been around forever. I mean, that's just one of the things. It's like have some stuff ready. But my favorite is like in was it Reservoir Dogs, when they're rehearsing the stories. You remember the guys rehearsing the story, the undercover cop guy?
Barely, if at all.
Oh my goodness! And then they had the conversation. Oh no. Anyway. But yeah, you gotta have a story. Everybody gotta have a story.
That's interesting.
I think people that are just more outgoing generally just like talking about themselves, and they always have something ready to say.
That's possible too. I have tried to like study my friends that are very outgoing and friendly and try to make friends with everybody and like listen to what they say and how they talk, and usually it ends up like, man, I would never say something like that. So
I agree.
maybe they just don't care. Maybe that's part of it.
Well, generally speaking, I talk for a reason, not just to be talking.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like to just talk for no reason.
Yeah, I guess Johnny's not going to chime in. She's probably the closest out of all of us that is less like that, although she does deal with social anxiety a lot.
I'm extremely, like, talking to a new person, I just can't do it. Like, face to face. I can talk a lot, like, on the computer or over the phone, but when it comes to, like, face to face interaction, I don't know. I'm very quiet, very shy.
But I mean, I am kind of like that too. If it's over if I'm talking to the fake people on the internet, hello out there, I don't care. I will say whatever, and I'm fine talking to people like that. But yeah, the in-person one definitely does change things. So. Well, I didn't get a chance to check out any of these tools, but we had talked recently about PDF and the inability to edit it and do things like that. But came across an article here that goes over 5 applications for editing PDF tools that are free tools. I'll just name off the ones they got listed here: PDF Booklet, I Love PDF, Yak Reader, Gaio Reader 4, and of course the Windows 10 Print to PDF, which is not exactly editing a PDF, I think that says, but I guess they had to make it a round number, so, or a set number kind of thing. But have any of y'all heard of any of those actual ones?
I have done a lot of research on PDF reader writers, and I don't think I've ever heard of any of these.
Interesting.
Maybe PDF Booklet, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it doesn't have the ones that I would have thought of either, and it has been a while since I've tried to look into free PDF writers, but let's see if I can find the ones that I remember right off the bat, and I bet you'll probably know them as well, Proctor. Oh, one right off the top that I've never heard of is this PDF Escape. It's interesting. It looks like the ones that I was used to are not around anymore either. I guess check those out and see. But
I don't know if it's too early to get into science, but we did actually touch on a slightly related one when you had informed me about the rat mice insulin and diabetes curing.
hold on one sec. Wesker says he uses PDF Creator. Do you enjoy it? Is there downsides to it? Have you used Adobe's Acrobat and comparison options, things like that? It's got a collecting and shuffling feature that's nice. Interesting. You shuffle PDF pages? It's weird. I want to act like this PDF is a pile of documents that I dropped on the floor and then picked back up and have to resort on the computer. Making them real documents. All right, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, so we had talked about, Brantley knows I'm interested in curing type 1 diabetes, and so he saw a thing in which they were transplanting organs grown and like chimera organs grown inside of a mouse that had rat DNA, and then it was put into the rat and cured their diabetes, or the vice versa. I can't remember which way it was, but regardless, it showed that could potentially be possible. But it did note a lot of potential drawbacks, being that it would be exceedingly difficult for human DNA to be preserved in other mammals' bodies. Apparently, that's been looked into before, and it was considered to be a very large challenge. Well, that being said, this was done very recently as well, and it looks like it kind of is a little bit of a proof of concept, I think, on how it could potentially work. Now, it's there's still a lot of issues of scale, and we're not nowhere near to the point of being able to grow organs on demand for people, at reasonable costs. But it's really interesting, this chimera nature of being, this pig growing human organs, basically.
Yeah.
But I want to point out that it was pigs, and I did mention that pigs were very human, like the first time we talked about this.
Yeah, when you had mentioned that, the first thing that came to my mind was, Animal Farm was true, I guess. But I didn't mention it at the time, but I'm glad you brought it up. And I did see that article. I just didn't. I didn't really get a lot out of it as to it being very useful at the moment. It was more of a, hey, this one didn't die right off the ladder, so
Sure.
good job, us.
Oh, one small more one here. Now again, this is a Firefox developer talking, but he had this to say.
Yeah, basically he was saying that you don't need antivirus except the built-in Microsoft one, which is something that we've been saying as well. However, I would like to point out that he is coming from a knowledgeable computer usage, proficient computer user.
Yeah.
That is key when you're saying you don't need antivirus, because while none of us need antivirus, we are also very proficient computer users and know the downfall,
But
seen what causes these things. So
that's a very important point, and I don't want to belittle that. But I do want to note that he does specifically call out a particular vendor, and does present his case on why he's making this. So he does back it up with a certain amount of evidence, and he does do research into vulnerabilities, and a large part of his argument is these bugs and vulnerabilities. Now, that's not to say that Windows is immune to having any of those issues either, but they've either been fixed very, very quickly, or they haven't been otherwise reported on much.
well, I mean, we've said too that the Microsoft antivirus, Security Defender, whatever combo is a great antivirus. We've seen in our testing that when we're trying to test out new ransomware stuff and we forget to turn that off on a blank system, that it catches it like 9 times out of 10, and we screw up an entire video recording because we have to go back and reset our VM so that we can turn that off and then start the video over. So
yeah, but again, some of then experienced users tend to just not put themselves at risk in a lot of situations where someone not being aware of the threats, like we and that Firefox researcher, developer rather, we would be aware of those threats because we probably deal with them on a daily basis as part of our work.
yeah. I mean, just in general, being a proficient computer user usually means you have that basis of understanding. Oh, like what Glenn is saying there, you don't agree to install things from pop-ups, or if you do a bad search result, you kind of question it before you go, oh, I'll just click on it and see what happens. So it is kind of a
Look before you leap is maybe something, and it's a yes or agreement button should not be taken, or an okay even button should not be taken lightly. But frankly, because of
any button should not be taken lightly.
Anytime you're engaging with anything.
Yeah. But yeah, and he points out that the second one is things not being updated, which again, proficient computer users usually try to keep things up to date and set and things like that. So ad blockers and automated update tools make a big difference. So, good points there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, exposure to again, those same things apply to me. And I go over to my friend's house, and I will surf, and I'll immediately be bombarded by a whole slew of additional advertising materials and other things that, while may or may not, actually be illegal or malicious, they certainly are a great annoyance and distraction. And I also have to believe that there are a percentage of those that are actually malicious. Even legitimate ad feeds have been compromised by malicious activity. And so I've found when I'm at home, I don't have to engage in nearly that much worry or bother by that because of the simple thing we've talked about over and over and over again, a pie hole. Total cost of implementation, about, $40 to $60 or whatever, and one-time, cost effectively building the pie and then just loading some software onto it.
I mean, even simpler is something like uBlock or uBlock Origin.
Oh yeah, even just a simple plugin to accomplish it. I do like the fact of not having to have an additional software layer to provide that that protection. But those are often overlooked. Like Glenn says, it's definitely well recommended to have something like that in place. And yeah, you don't have to even want to buy a single board computer, although obviously we're proponents of that.
So kind of related to that, I saw another interesting article. This is the top 10 U.S. cities likely to be hit by hackers. So be extra cautious if you are living or visiting these areas. Kind of interesting list there, though. Houston tops the list, followed by Chicago, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Dallas, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Minneapolis, and Chicago. Yeah. So, what's interesting about that, you may have noticed that one of the larger cities, New York City, is not on that top 10 list. It actually ranks 13th. And
where's the capital fall? The DC.
I don't know. I don't have the whole list here. Let's see if the source actually.
Dude, that'd have to be below like every other city. Come on.
Well, it may be related to this too. Is that New York is home to many financial and government institutions, so they may do a better job of protecting their infrastructure from malware and things like that, whereas other places might not be.
This study was done by Webroot.
Yeah, it looks like it. Doesn't. Yeah, they don't have the whole list up there. That I can find easily, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And of course, the biggest thing is IoT things being attacked, and
criteria is important, though. For these rankings. I mean, I'm sure I could create a system that ranks states almost arbitrarily, however I would like to rank them, if I just alter some certain criteria, certain ways. So.
But coming from Webroot, I would imagine they would be doing it based off infections.
I would hope so, quite broad and across the board, but subject sampling size and other factors, obviously come into play. So yeah, I would like to verify their work, but in a peer review.
Glenn.
I don't know if those are considered to be peer-reviewed, those types of studies.
Probably not. So Glenn says the downside of helping customers out is callback rates drop.
Oh, that is the...
It is a downside, but if you're doing a referral program and things like that and finding out how people find out about you, you may be surprised that those callback rates have dropped where your referrals have significantly increased. So I tend to see that as better business practices and more something that will last.
Give them if they're saving that money and not giving it to you, fine. Then they have that much extra money potentially to spend. So offer something alternative for them to spend the money on, if that makes any sense, possibly.
Yeah, it's always that too. Is give suggestions and ideas and things they can do otherwise. That because that's honestly when I liked helping clients and customers the most when I was repairing computers, was when they learned what I told them to do. So like they may have come in for virus removals, but eventually they learned what I was telling them was true and that they should listen to me, and they didn't have any more virus issues. But then they were like, well, I need to do this too. Is there a way I can do that? And I'm like, sure, we can go over all that stuff and give them different options and show them things that they can do past that, now that they don't have to worry about viruses and malware and things.
And when they get exposed to doing new things, inevitably they'll have, they'll probably stumble a few times before they get the knack of it. And during that period, they will rely upon you for, the services for that as well. So I think look of it as a stepping stone, if anything, not as taking away revenue, because I believe in the longer term, it will actually increase or incentivize revenue.
I feel like it does as well. So, well, back on that article, one last thing I wanted to look into here is they recommend not using public Wi-Fi, which, again, if you're using a VPN, which we've talked about this week as well, you don't have to worry about that as much as long as you verified your VPN. But they mention here using strong password and two-factor authentication where possible, which is definitely a good thing. But my question comes in here where they say, considering code-breaking programs can crack an 8-character password in 15 minutes. The link they provided for that sent you to another article they did, which did not mention anything about anything being able to crack passwords in 15 minutes. So I was highly disappointed in that. But we've actually done tests on things, and breaking an 8-character password is fairly difficult. I have not seen
but with
15 minutes.
With the money and resources, though, it's a problem that can be tackled. For instance, if you wanted
that's if
Amazon
you're using purely alphanumeric stuff. Like alphanumeric even makes it fairly difficult to crack past that. Of course, adding in spaces and symbols and upper and lowercase to that, I would say there's no way you're cracking that in 15 minutes. So I'm assuming maybe they just mean 8-character lowercase letter passwords, which is probably the default for people that have to enter passwords that are 8 characters long.
They could be considering clustering too for solving these problems as well. I mean, there's
maybe possible,
but again, those are expensive options. So
yeah, but it's that was just interesting to me that they mentioned that, and like I said, we've done some testing on trying to crack those type of passwords, and we're not that successful. So, anyway, I thought Michael, you would have brought this up with one of your random links, but apparently researchers is it Harvard? Was it? Harvard University scientists say they have created hydrogen metal.
So they've been looking into that for a while.
Over 80 years.
Was it over 80?
Yeah.
Okay. So they initially they speculated on what it would take, and they did some maths and all that good stuff, and determined that it would I don't remember the exact value, but something like I gotta look at the reference, so I can't just pull a number.
But anyway, let's just say that they took 2 diamonds and compressed a hydrogen molecule under intense pressure and very low temperatures, and supposedly they got a hydrogen metal out of it. There are some doubts about it. I've posted a second link there that draws the critical doubts about it. But they also have to try to release that pressure and raise the temperature up and see if it stays stable, because they have some concerns about that. And this is like molecule size. We're not talking like, hey, this is going to be in mass production next year, but this is like, hey, this is the first thing. If it is true, it's the first time that anyone on Earth has ever seen hydrogen metal.
Well, and the reasoning for that,
or created before. So
the reason for that is because they, like I said earlier, they way underestimated the amount of pressure necessary to produce it, and so they're using diamond anvil press in this case, and they got to get up to I believe it's 495 billion pascals or 71 million psi.
Yeah.
And that's apparently a record for the pressure if they can, verify it and prove it and long-term stability of it. And so, you'd expect, I mean, our physics would say that this will happen. You know, at some point, and some amount of pressure will allow it to exist in a metallic state. But obviously, being the lightest element, it's the hardest, probably one to get to that state.
However, there are extreme benefits to being able to accomplish this.
Okay.
Some of the things that apply for this would be electronics. Anything that operates off electronics, you would get a far less, almost nothing loss to it. Like right now, all of the electronics, your computers, your power lines, anything that runs off electricity has at least a 15% degradation over the course of its traveling. And that's due just because of the types of metals that we have available, where this would be is it superconductor?
Effectively, it would probably function as a superconductor. However, again, to replace all that material with this stuff would cost you so much money because of it. Look, it's not cheap to produce the machine, to even make the machine and the environment necessary to do this. And
yeah, but that's stuff down the road. They're just at the we actually got something, possibly even. And the other side of it is like RTM Tech was saying diamonds are always associated with pressure. He was put under a lot of pressure to produce one at one time. Good one there. But they were also comparing this to diamonds. Essentially, when a diamond gets created out of graphene, it's under extreme amounts of pressure and high temperatures that create a diamond. But when you relieve those temperatures and pressures, it stays a diamond. And that's what they're hoping will happen with this metal, is once it gets created, it will stay that way. But they're going to be releasing the pressure very slowly and slowly increasing the temperature to see what happens. It's also possible, I was reading, that it could end up degrading over time without those two things being there. So there's some definitely like a lot more research is going to have to go into this. It's just they've been trying and theorizing about this for almost a century now, and they finally got something possibly out of it. So that's the big benefit. But it could also end up being rocket fuel, because all the energy it takes to create that metal can then be released with what would be extremely light and very condensed form factors. So your rockets could be propulsed by them, even possibly
propelled by them. But yeah, I get.
Yeah, so they could have larger loads, be lighter taking off, even possibly give you metal that could withstand things and be lighter at the same time. So
yeah, it's still we still have to get it stable, but certainly promising. The one thing though, that typically things that usually are stable naturally, you usually tend to find them. Now, if it does truly create an particularly exotic environment, but I mean, just like for instance, carbon doesn't easily turn into diamonds, yet we have plenty of examples of diamonds that we dig up out of the ground all the time, right? And that's very high pressures. But so nothing within the earth seems to be able to produce metallic hydrogen, at least through natural processes over billions of years. Okay, that being the case, I'm less and likely to be inclined to believe that it will remain stable. But if these, I mean, it certainly is enough to want it to be based upon some of those improvements, especially the efficiency ones. But I'd gather that this is even if it was stable, that it's quite a way off. It would be, decades probably before we started to see some of those things trickle down. But who knows?
Yeah. So RTM Tech posted an incredibly long link, which I shortened up there for him, about the magnetic pole reversal. And this has been a subject that's interested us, and we've talked about on probably a couple of different shows previously. But it is possible that we are looking at a current one happening right now, but it's hard to tell, and they do take quite a while to go through. But I would be excited to see what would happen, and I feel like at least the compasses would be freaking out about it. You'd have to buy all new compasses and stuff. So, and you'd have to turn all your maps upside down so that north is facing south and vice versa, things like that. But
yeah, okay. You can either fix your compass or you can turn your maps upside down. Which way is it going to be, folks?
I thought that it's actually related to one of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia